Hi, this is video 1 of Techknowatlas. We're going to consolidate a monitor stand into a desk mount that takes up less area. The idea is that I keep one monitor stand for the laptop to tuck under, but have another monitor stand that's a pole and gives me some of my desk back. Materials that I'm going to use are a 24-inch plumbing pipe. You could have used an 18 or 16, I think was available, but a 12-inch was too short. Some of this bracket stock material. It's going to be kind of experimental. I'm used to using aluminum bar stock. This may not be as rigid as I like, but if it's not, that's okay. We can always alter that later. We've got a floor flange to fit the pipe. It's 3/4 inch diameter, and this pipe is very clearly labeled in case there's any questions about what we were using. The idea is that this will serve as the pole to rigidly mount the monitor. I don't ever change these once I have them in position, so for me it's not a problem. They don't need to be something that I can move around. The thing is that a very specialized screw. These are a metric screw that will fit the back of this flat panel monitor right here. Didn't find this at an average hardware store. This was actually the hardest part to find. It's a 0.7 pitch thread, and the diameter was a 4 millimeter thread. So what I'll do is put the specs off, because I'm actually forgetting. And of course we've got some U-bolts, one for top and bottom, the bracket to make it rigid, and last but not least, but the wood screws for the flange. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my PC powered off, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and disconnect the power cables and the video cables to these monitors, get this monitor stand out of the way, and figure out the spacing for my floor flange. And once I've got that figured out, the rest is just cutting the material and mounting it to the back of the monitor and making sure it's secure, and we'll call it done. So hopefully a short project and purpose. This project end to end is going to cost me about $40. I saw some mounts on the internet that would come close to doing what I wanted but weren't exact, and they started at around 90 bucks. That was before shipping. Not everybody has a free shipping option, so for me this was both for purpose of economics, and I really wanted it to be a very specific height, and the way I'm going to achieve that is through these U-bolts. So we'll get started, and we'll catch up with you when we're ready to mount the monitor. Made some pretty good progress in pretty short order. About 15 minutes later, a little cutting with a hacksaw blade, we've got a start. I only have the top bracket on, and I actually don't have it tight. And as you can tell, I don't have this 4-flange mounted yet. But the key thing to note is that we've done in the back kind of a standoff. I'm going to do video of the bottom mount in the back, but I wanted to get the top going for one key reason, and it's this right here. I wanted to be able to know what I was going to look at from a height perspective. So what I'm going to do is loosen that U-bolt up, and I'm going to slide this down so we have a parallel height. That way it doesn't drive me crazy trying to look at these guys all day. That's the main thing. And I think that right there is looking pretty good. And if you'll notice, it'll stay in one place, and I have a little bit of wiggle room to get this guy around just the way I want it. So I'm going to tighten this down, and we'll cut another bracket for the bottom, and we'll be sure to video that for you so you can see how. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is obviously measure out for my next cut. And there's a problem. The manufacturer's sticker is kind of covering the holes. Now, that's not a big deal. I'm just going to take these needle nose pliers and get those guys out of the way so that I can do a measurement. It's pretty obvious that it's 4 holes, but you know what? This isn't like napalm and hand grenades. Close doesn't count. It needs to be pretty dead on because of these U-bolts and the way I do these standoff screws right here. It's critical that it all comes together correctly. But the good news is there's a notch out here, so I'm glad I checked it. We're going to have to actually come out and cut here. It's going to be slightly wired in the first bracket, but no big deal. We'll just make a nice mark to know which one. Got our handy square. We'll draw our line, and we're ready to cut. Talk to you in a few moments. We're ready to mount the bracket. All right, so quick 3-minute cut with a hacksaw. There are easier ways to do it with a chop saw. I'm doing this in my home office, and I did not want to drag a chop saw into here, although I did drag my tool cart in. The main thing I wanted to get on video was the way these standoffs work, because that is the key part of making this work exactly the way I want it to be able to have the adjustments almost. I don't want to use the word precise because it's not extraordinarily precise, but it's definitely something. Now these guys we're not an exact fit, as you can tell, but that's okay. That's why we have like clasping bolts. So what we'll do is we will use the laws of physics to true this guy up for me. That way I don't have to try to muscle or strong arm anything. It's the laws of physics working to my advantage. So you notice it's got a tilt to it, and we'll get this guy to straighten right up. And it will draw that around, and we're ready to go. Alright, and we're gonna, before we get it too tight, well, oh, I've already done it. I'm gonna have to back it off a little bit. I am all the while, folks, being very cautious and very tuned in to the fact that this is an LCD in my lap. And if I break this guy, the whole reason for the project becomes moot. But I failed to line these up before. And notice I'm not getting a whole lot of movement. That's because I've already locked this down and tightened it up. But I want to get this lined up a little better. So we're going to take the time to do it now, so that these holes, and they look pretty good. So we'll just spend a little time straightening this guy out, and we will be in good shape. Okay, we'll come back when we're ready to mount it to the desk. Okay, there's a final screw to go in, and it's these standoff screws. And as I said before, I've got to remember the specs on these. I know that they were metric 0.7 pitch. 20 millimeters sounds too big. I think they were like 4 millimeter, 4 millimeter by 0.7. But the part that it's very critical here is this, what I'm calling a standoff. It's really not that, but it's, you don't put the washer on first. You want to go ahead and thread a nut not all the way down. You want to leave yourself some room. But what this nut does is it will provide some tension back the other way for the monitor, because that's all that's standing between this thing being rigid and secure and a floppy mess. Now, they do make small wrenches. I actually used a pair of needle nose pliers because that's what was handy. So not very sophisticated, but what we'll do is we'll use our screwdriver to go ahead and get that guy nice and solid in the back of that monitor. There, feels pretty good, and we're going to do the same. Just make sure that this one's in the same shape, and notice we've got some room, and it looks like we're kind of high on one side. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to tighten this side down, get this leveled up, take it over, and what will be next is to take these wood screws. They're 10 by 3/4, and they are just the most beautiful fit for that floor flange. So looking at this, everything is nice and parallel. It's nice and straight, and I think we're perfectly positioned to go ahead and crank these down as tight as they'll go, get it mounted to the desk, and we'll fire it up and see how it looks. Okay, so we're ready to start to mount this floor flange. I want you to notice something. I actually, when it was all said and done, these are off a little bit. That's okay. That's why I like my design. Once I get this mounted, see, as I let go of it, gravity's pulling that guy forward. So I've marked these holes. With this type of material, I really want some pilot holes. Not going to be anything big, like a 1/16 of an inch pilot hole for those wood screws. That gives that material a chance to, and room to expand and not do some undesirable stuff from a surface perspective. Once I get it mounted, then I can work to loosen these screws and bump it up a little bit. I mean, if you look at what we lack, it's about 3/8 of an inch or so. Not a big deal, and we'll see you guys when we get in there. All right, and we're looking pretty stout. We're going to go ahead and put the monitor back on, and we'll see you when we've got it all plugged up and ready to go. Okay, so we're done. It's not elegant, but it's for my home office, and I'm pretty pleased with it. And here's the result. Now, the interesting thing is obviously there are different brands of monitors. One's on a VGA port, the other one's on DVI, and obviously we're going to realize a better screen. But notice things are transposed. This is Windows 7, and that's not a big deal. To get this back to where we want it to go, all we have to do is go to the display settings, and in the same place that you would adjust the resolution, you can actually change your monitor orientation. So watch what happens when I hit apply. It's going to move things back for me. Now, when I hit identify, we've got 1 and 2, but number 1 needs to be the main display, because this is never going to change. And as we get that, so now when I move the mouse from the left to the right, from the right to the left, it's smooth, the transitions, everything came over just the way I want it to. So we're looking really good. Now, that being said, I think overall it was a decent project. 2 hours, $40 worth of parts, not elegant. This probably could have been an 18-inch piece of pipe, which as you can see, I needed almost every bit of that 24-inch or 2-foot long piece of pipe. I'll clean out the stickers and get a decorative cap probably for the top. Maybe even do something funny. I could put a hole underneath and run electrical cable, put a light on it, who knows what. But the main thing that I really am most pleased about is the fact that I've got this space back on my desk. So I can put a stand on here and type from a document or read a book or whatever and still have access to this. If I wanted to sketch something out, which I'm prone to do, I'll just come over here, sketch it out and be done. So 2 hours, $40 worth of parts. Hope you enjoyed it.